everyone, it's Technique Tuesday, and I'm Virginia Killmore, and welcome to my studio. Tuesday's the day that we try out new or interesting techniques and we apply them to cards. And today's card is actually a case again by a woman named Lori Wilson, and I got to see this card because I'm a demonstrator and I get to go to a neat Facebook page called Demonstrator Planning Place, and we get to see wonderful cards. Lori did this card. I thought it was beautiful. It reminds me of the Northern Lights, and I wanted to make it. Now, one of the neat things about casing, because people ask me all the time, isn't casing stealing? Well, technically you could say it is, but figuring out how somebody else made a card is an exercise in creativity and learning. I learned so much by trying to figure out how somebody else made something. It's sort of reverse engineering. My dad would be proud of that. So casing is copying, but it's also a learning activity. And if you are willing to at least acknowledge the person that made it, I think that should be okay. So let's get started. I'll walk you through it today, and we can make this wonderful card. So this card is so pretty. I just love it. I think Lori went above and beyond when she made this card. And I added some little dimension by putting some Northern Light images on it. But the card is really pretty basically easy to do. And as you know, every day I have a list of everything I used, including a hostess code that you can use to help out this month's hostess. So feel free if you need something to order, but if not, just enjoy today's presentation. So to do this card, we are going to start with 2 pieces of Pear Pizzazz cardstock. One being a little bit larger than the other. That's this one right here. So we're going to just set this aside and work on this piece. And there is a lot to do on this piece. And I am going to bring in a scrap piece of paper so I don't make a huge mess. So just bear with me if you want to see what's there. I will pull that away. And I'm going to start with Night of Navy ink and a sponge that I've cut. Our sponges come in circles and I cut them into quarters, and then I use a piece of cardstock that I staple to the top to sort of help me. Now, whenever you work with a sponge, the biggest mistake people have is they plop it right on their paper and then they're disappointed. So one of my biggest things that I tell people is start somewhere off the page and see what's happening. You see how there's too much ink there? I can sort of start and not go back and get new ink and start way out here and start putting my blue on so that I don't get those streaky lines that I'm looking to avoid. There is a new brush I'm hoping will come out. A lot of people are using them. They're sort of a makeup brush, and I'm hoping Stampin' Up! Will come up with something like that because it would be really nice. So you see how I'm testing it over here before I get into my cardstock. Now, as I work this, I can get darker by just putting more pressure on it. But I like to wait till I'm sure that the color that I'm putting on is the way I want it before I start putting pressure on. And you can sort of hear there's more pressure because you can actually hear my brushing. And I'm trying to make sort of an uneven shape here because that's how a Northern Light would be. I've actually had the wonderful opportunity to go to Alaska. And so I've seen Northern Lights, though we had them once here in Syracuse. I can't remember how long ago. And I am concentrating on darkening now my edges, so I am applying more ink. But the trick is if you're not happy with a spot, it's just to continually go over it until you get it the value you want. See how I have a nice dark edge right there? I'm going to work these edges now. One of the reasons my stamp is doing this is it's because it's very wet. That means I recently re-inked it. And I think I did that for when I did the stamping here, because I noticed it was not stamping as dark. So one of the tricks that people use is they use some kind of spoon or a bone folder to push the ink away to get less ink. So that's something else I could have done. And you would just take your bone folder and push the ink in a different direction, and then you'll have a little bit lighter application of the ink. But I can also control it by pressure and how much and how long I go over an area. A lot of people think, well, you know, I really don't have to go over an area. The more you go over, the deeper it gets. And this is about layering color. I just want my edges as dark. And I think what I'm going to do is down here, I'm just going to darken in along that edge so that when my stamping is done, it's dark. But I went a little too tough right there. I'm going to soften that a little bit. Okay, I'm ready for stamping, and our card is almost done. Now I'm using this set called Campology, which I think is beautiful line drawn images. And these are the trees that I'm using. And instead of using enjoy today, I'm using the word explore, because this card sort of makes me want to explore. I love nature. My husband has a beautiful cabin in the woods that he hand built. And it's just so fun to be down there around a fire with a family. We really enjoy that. Now, notice that I didn't get enough ink. I'm so glad I didn't go ahead. Sometimes stamps can be difficult. So I am moving my stamp around. And you know what? It never hurts to stamp it once, and it's stamping good now. That's called priming a stamp. That's why you get those ugly stamps sometimes when you first start. Nothing frustrating, though, after spending all the time getting this beautiful background and not getting what I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the lighter version of that so that I get some depth, making sure I'm getting enough ink. And I think I'm almost done. I'm going to do one more right there. Yep, I better stop. I have this tendency to go too far. I'm kind of happy with that. So I can now close up my, well, no, I need to do my sentiment. Now, I could do my sentiment on here, and I think I will, because I love this technique. A lot of times we will go and cut a special piece of paper for our sentiment. You don't have to do that. You can do it right on the backing piece that's going to not be seen. I'm going to punch it out of the piece that's in the back here. And I will be using our classic label punch. And the nice thing about this is that I can get it straight. How many of you really struggle getting it centered and straight? Oh, that is my biggest frustration. I like things centered and straight. And I'm kind of fussy about it. So it is really nice to have that ability to do that. Because this piece is going to get covered, I don't have to worry about punching it out. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down to here, and then I'll put this, the string on there. So let's do this in an orderly fashion. We'll start here. We'll start with our Night of Navy. That is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The Whisper White is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. I'm getting pretty good at remembering this stuff. Secretly, part of the reason I do this is because I'm struggling with my memory, and this helps me quite a bit. I have to think in a logical fashion, which is not something I like to do. Okay, so now that's all set. Better close this because you know how ink likes to find its way onto my stuff. Okay, I'm going to make my trademark little ribbon tie. Just going to tie it off, tie a square knot, and then trim it to the way I like it. And this one you don't have to be so careful because it unravels anyways. And I do want it sort of closer to one edge, so I cut it off center. And I can go ahead and wrap it around here. And I can do that by taking my cardstock, flipping it over. And now I've really lost my tape runner. Oh, there it is. Remember yesterday I lost it? Well, I still don't have it. I need to clean my studio. I think that's a sign. So I'm going to lay that on there. I like to always set one side before I go to the other side. And once I'm happy, I can get it on my cardstock, and then I'll just do the sentiment and the bling. Who doesn't love bling? Now, this little piece of Pear Pizzazz is actually 1/8 of an inch difference between the piece that I did all the artwork on and this one. These two are 1/8 of an inch difference, and I love sometimes the very little thin line of the very bright color because it gives it a little pop, but not so much that it overpowers. So the last part is my bling. And I am going to get my pokey tool, which was out here 2 seconds ago. Well, I guess I got to get my other pokey tool. It'll show up as soon as I stop looking for it. And I'm going to use 3 different size champagne rhinestones. I love these rhinestones. I don't know what I'm going to do when Stampin' Up! Decides they're going to get rid of them. They do that to me. As soon as I like something, they get rid of it. Maybe I need to like it sooner so I have it longer. So there you go. I've got that. And now all I have to do is put my sentiment on with a little dimensional. And I'm going to put 3 of them on. Okay. And I love to use this to sort of place it because I can really see what I'm doing. What a nice card to send to someone who might be struggling right now or just need a pick-me-up. This would be a fun card. I've been encouraging all my customers to send cards because so many people are cooped up and need something to brighten their day. Anytime I send a card to a friend, they call me and thank me. I actually had a lady cry to me the other day. I was so touched. It's tough right now. So get out there, make some cards, send them to somebody you love or someone you just like, maybe just a neighbor. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. We're doing a neat watercolor card tomorrow.